Peace. No peace. Die. That's what this film title made me think of. What's up? I'm John Stark from MyMovieGuy.com. And I thought of this as a spiritual sequel to Independence Day. Not really, but it is Rob Peace. It's written and directed by Chiwetel Ejiofor. And it's not a Netflix film, but you could watch it on Netflix with audio description. It's also available other places with audio description. I saw this on the Apple Store. I just knew it was coming to Netflix, so I waited so I didn't have to spend money. I already have like every streaming service, and then beyond that I have to sometimes go to Apple Store for the audio description because it doesn't travel. So if I know, it's like, oh, I can wait a couple weeks for Rob Peace. So I did. And thus, it's here. The film stars Jay Will, Mary J. Blige, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Camila Cabello, Mare Winningham, Michael Kelly, just like a bunch of people. Chiwetel obviously knows a lot of people. It is not his writer-directorial debut. That was actually The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, which is a Netflix film, which I have not seen. So I thought this might be, but that was because I haven't seen this other film. And now I'm more intrigued to see the other one. Not necessarily excited. I just said intrigued to see the other one. But just to see, in comparison-wise, sort of the direction that Chiwetel is making as a director. The film is based on a book, based on a true story of a guy who grew up and had to, sort of an inspirational story of a man who puts himself through college, medical school, all the way up through, works really hard, while also trying to work to clear his father's name in this murder that he may or may not have done. It's a question mark, to the audience. So a lot of it we believe through Rob, played by Jay Will, and also his father is Chiwetel Ejiofor, so he's writing, directing, and co-starring in this. And this is one of those films that feels like it was longer and then was shorter, or that there's like more in the book and like we're hitting the points. I would say, as I was following this story, the setup was weird. I couldn't get into it because I wasn't given enough time to. So the film starts off with young Rob, who has a different name at the beginning, and I didn't even fully conceptualize why they switched his name to Rob Peace. Like, why Mary J. Blige is just like, you're Rob Peace now. And it's like, because she doesn't want him to be associated with his father, I'm guessing. That was my guess. Anyway, but little version of him goes off with his dad, Skeet, played by Ejiofor, and he, is suggested to be somewhat of a shady individual. He talks about he wants to borrow the car so he can go to Coney Island, but he's like, but my car's not going to make it there. And, well, you're not taking our car, so I guess you're not going to Coney Island for the day, So his car doesn't even really make it just home. It just dies on the side of the road, which gives us an opportunity to have a scene where he has to remove a package and a gun from the glove box. Ooh, foreshadowing. Yes. It is foreshadowing. So he goes and spends some time with his dad, and then later on, there's this argument, there's some gunshots, and we see a figure, as the audio description says, a figure running from the building. Who could it be? No one knows. Then we kind of cut to the courtroom case, but we don't really get into the courtroom case because this film has to move so fast that you don't know what's happening. You don't know who's innocent or who's guilty. You just have to move really fast. And there's this scene on the phone where the dad calls his son and he's like, I didn't do it, right? I didn't, it's like, I'm like, I don't even know at this point. I feel like this is maybe the meat of the movie, the setup, but it's all about it's all about knowing what's actually important to the film and then weighing that out and being like, okay, so what makes this movie interesting? Like, what is the story here? We spend a lot of time with Rob in college, like a lot of time with him enjoying just like being a college student, with Camila Cabello, who really feels like a peripheral character here. And I'm not saying anything, I'm not slighting her acting at all. I thought she was fine. But when you look at the story of Rob Peace and like what it is that this film's trying to tell you, she is the Frida Pinto of Hillbilly Elegy. Like, she doesn't need to be in every scene. She barely needs to be there. Like, Frida Pinto was not a huge presence. Ron Howard was able to establish her in a couple of scenes so that way when she came in and out, they were just like, hey, I'm here. Okay, I'm leaving now because I obviously don't need to be here. And it was just a way how you quickly establish and then move on from that. And I hate comparing this film to Hillbilly Elegy, but it is sort of about a guy who's in college and is torn between college and his family, So in that regard, Hillbilly Elegy knew where the story was, and it didn't spend all this time with him, like, hitting the law books, and spending all this time in college. It just introduced you to the concept that he was a student and that there was a struggle and he was talented. And then it showed you, his devotion to family and trying to get this thing. So while there is this court case and there are these appeals to try to get his dad out of jail and the belief that, the continued belief that he was screwed over and little things that are introduced in the script, like the judge openly questioning the decision in court. Like the judge is like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't feel great about this. After the judge reads the guilty verdict, the jury reads the guilty verdict. He's like, I don't know. Because he allows the dad to make a statement, which is like this really like pleading, like, man, I didn't do it. I got a son. And the judge is like, I know. I don't know. I hate this verdict as well. I'm like, what is this movie? What is happening here? It's a little bit of a mess. There's a story here, and it just needed to be processed by a different source. It just needed somebody else to take a look at it and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I got it. Somebody else to just take a look at the story and be like, okay, so we're going to shuffle this around here. We're going to cut this scene. We don't need this character. We're going to strengthen this. This is going to be longer. This is going to be shorter. And flesh out a different version of this script and then shoot that. I don't think there's necessarily a problem with Ejiofor's direction here, except for the fact that he just doesn't recognize the fact that his film is sort of narratively a mess in terms of what are you trying to say? What is the main plot? What is the point? What is the purpose? Where are we going? And what is it that you need to focus on? What's the meat and potatoes of the story? I don't think he even knows the answer to that question. It's really hard to watch this film and be like, well, the meat and potatoes is... At one point I actually thought, I was like, is this going to be like a faith-based movie? It felt like it was just grasping for something. Like it was trying to hold on to something. And I, like, literally, like, halfway through the movie, I thought he was going to find God. Or like somebody was going to hand him a Bible, or he's going to go to church and be like, man, I don't know what to do. And then somebody was going to come in and be like, well, have you heard the word? And then the word was going to change him, But no, no. Nope. It's just a very confused movie about where to go. I don't think anybody necessarily did a bad job. If I had to pick one thing, I really think the script is a mess. I don't even think the initial story is bad. I just think when you hear a story, you have to figure out what it is that made that story interesting and translate that onto the screen. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes when people adapt things and they have to sort of consolidate what a book was saying into a shorter method, it doesn't always work. A lot of book to film adaptations have suffered as a result, and this is probably just another one of them. Where the Crawdads Sing, the book is just like infinitely better and makes way more sense, you know? So this is just another one of those. So, audio description wise, I didn't really have a lot of thoughts or problems with it, except for the fact, because I think most of the problems that I had with like where are we, what's happening, was just sort of like sometimes the film just kind of goes in a different direction and just takes you, there just isn't enough material to support some of the choices that they make. And the audio description just describes what's there. It can't describe anything more than that. It can't be like, well, in the scene that wasn't there, or it's not going to hint people along as to what's missing. That's not its job. So I think overall the audio description did a good job. But yeah, I think the screenplay is a mess. I don't have that big of a problem with Ejiofor's direction, and of course he's an excellent actor. I didn't realize it was him in the role. I just thought he did a great job afterwards. Like after the fact, I was like, wait a minute, that was him? I didn't feel like him at all. Great job. It didn't feel like I was watching Chiwetel Ejiofor at all. So, but of course we know this. This is the dude from 12 Years a Slave. An excellent actor who should be making more trips to the Oscar stage. He just needs better roles. He just needs more consistent, better roles offered to him. That's the only problem, is that he's not getting the right offers. But sadly, I'm going to give Rob Peace a C+. I think if you're going to watch this, you're watching it for the acting, which is strong. You're watching it for the concept of a story that's intriguing. It's just narratively, it was always a mess from the beginning, and I don't think there's anything Ejiofor could have directed himself out of it. He just needed to recognize the screenplay he wrote was a bit of a mess, unless he directed a longer film and it was an editing issue, which is also possible. But somewhere along the way, this one hit a bump in the road and went from being probably a pretty good film to being well, it's not awful. It's not bad. It's just not good. It's pretty average. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And I will see you guys on the other side.